Millions of us wake up every morning feeling heavy, reaching blindly for a cup of coffee just to feel human again. We pour that dark liquid into our mugs, expecting a sudden surge of vitality to wash away the exhaustion. It feels like a direct infusion of pure power, waking up our tired minds and preparing us for the day ahead. But what if that morning staple is actually deceiving you? The real surprise lies in understanding that this beloved beverage is not actually giving you energy at all. We have been conditioned to view our morning brew as fuel, similar to putting gas in a depleted car. In reality, explaining caffeine requires us to completely abandon the idea that it adds anything to our biological battery. It is not a fuel source, and it contains no caloric energy that your cells can burn. To understand what is truly happening, we must look at a specific molecule called adenosine. From the moment you wake up, your cells are burning energy to keep you alive, and this metabolic process creates adenosine as a natural byproduct. As the hours pass, this molecule steadily accumulates within your central nervous system. It acts as a biological hourglass, keeping precise track of exactly how long you have been awake. Research shows that as adenosine levels rise throughout the day, the molecule binds to specific docking stations in the brain called adenosine receptors. When it locks into these specialized sites, it sends a clear, undeniable signal to your brain that it is time to slow down. This steady accumulation is the primary driver of sleep pressure, the growing sensation of tiredness that eventually forces you to seek rest at night. This delicate chemical balance directly governs your natural sleep wake cycle. When you respect this rhythm, your body seamlessly transitions from daytime alertness to evening relaxation. However, when we introduce outside chemicals into this finely tuned environment, we interrupt the brain's ability to accurately read its own fatigue levels. Recognizing this disruption is the first step toward reclaiming your natural vitality and ending the cycle of constant exhaustion. Here is where our morning habit performs its grand illusion. Caffeine happens to share an incredibly similar molecular structure with adenosine, making it a perfect chemical imposter. When it enters your bloodstream and travels to your brain, it fits perfectly into those same docking stations. By occupying these slots, caffeine acts as a molecular blocker rather than an energy booster, physically preventing the actual fatigue signals from attaching. Because the receptors are temporarily plugged, your central nervous system stops receiving the message that you are tired. Your brain looks around, sees no fatigue signals successfully docking, and concludes that you must be fully rested. The sudden feeling of being wide awake is not a surplus of new energy, but rather the artificial silencing of your body's natural exhaustion alarms. You are simply deaf to your own tiredness. This molecular deception explains why we feel suddenly capable of taking on the world after a single cup. The underlying fatigue has not disappeared, nor have your cells been magically recharged. The exhaustion is still physically present in your brain, waiting in the background. The chemical blockade simply masks the reality of your physiological state, allowing you to borrow alertness from the future at a steep physiological cost. We all know what happens when that borrowed time runs out. The dreaded afternoon crash hits with punishing force, leaving us staring blankly at our computer screens, desperate for another cup. This sudden wave of lethargy is not a random fluctuation in your daily rhythm. It is a direct consequence of the chemical debt you accumulated earlier in the morning finally coming due all at once. While the imposter molecule was blocking the docking stations, your body did not stop producing its natural sleep-inducing chemicals. The adenosine continued to build up in the background, pooling around the blocked receptors like water behind a dam. When the caffeine finally breaks down and releases its grip on your brain cells, the dam breaks. A massive flood of accumulated fatigue signals rushes in to bind with the newly freed receptors. This sudden deluge of tiredness explains why you often feel significantly worse in the afternoon than you did before your first cup. The crash is simply your brain experiencing hours of delayed fatigue all in one overwhelming moment. It is a harsh reminder that we cannot permanently outsmart our biology. We can only delay the inevitable, and the longer we delay it, the harder the eventual impact will be. Stay with us to uncover a simple timing shift that can change everything. Instead of reaching for a mug the second you wake up, try waiting 90 to 120 minutes. During the first hours of the morning, your body is naturally clearing out the lingering sleep pressure from the night before. Allowing this natural clearing process to finish before introducing a blocker prevents the midday crash entirely. If you constantly flood your system with coffee, your brain attempts to restore balance through a process called upregulation. Because the natural fatigue signals are constantly being blocked, the brain assumes it simply does not have enough docking stations to hear the message. In response, it physically grows new adenosine receptors to ensure the crucial signal of tiredness can still get through, fundamentally altering your brain's structure. This structural adaptation is the direct cause of caffeine tolerance. With more receptors now available, you need to consume significantly more of the blocking agent just to cover all the new docking stations. A single cup no longer provides that familiar spark of alertness because there are too many open slots left for the fatigue signals to use. Your baseline of normalcy has been permanently shifted upward. A common societal trap is believing that escalating our intake will restore our lost productivity. We see people drinking 4 or 5 cups a day, assuming this high consumption is the secret to elite performance. In truth, heavy consumers are not gaining extra focus or superhuman drive. They are simply drinking massive amounts of coffee just to reach the baseline level of alertness that a non drinker experiences naturally every day. Breaking this escalating cycle requires a deliberate reset of your tolerance levels. By slowly tapering down your consumption over a few weeks, you signal to your brain that it no longer needs those extra docking stations. The brain will gradually dismantle the surplus receptors, returning your central nervous system to its factory settings. This reset allows you to experience the benefits of a single cup once again. Once the surplus receptors are cleared, the echoes of balanced nutrition and proper rest become much louder. Your body regains its sensitivity to its own natural rhythms, allowing you to wake up feeling genuinely refreshed without chemical intervention. The reliance on external stimulation fades, replaced by a stable, enduring vitality that carries you smoothly through the morning and well into the afternoon without the extreme peaks and valleys. Scientific measurements reveal that the half life of this chemical in the human body is roughly 5 to 6 hours. This means that a quarter of the substance is still actively circulating in your bloodstream 10 to 12 hours after consumption. If you consume a large dose at 4 in the afternoon, a significant portion of it will still be actively blocking sleep signals at midnight, directly sabotaging your rest. Establishing a strict cutoff time is essential for protecting your recovery. Setting a hard limit around 2 in the afternoon ensures that the majority of the chemical has cleared your system before bedtime. This simple boundary respects the biological hourglass, allowing sleep pressure to naturally build and attach to the receptors as the evening progresses, guiding you gently toward a state of readiness for sleep. Failing to respect this clearance time silently destroys your sleep architecture. Even if you manage to fall asleep with the substance in your system, Clinical observations show it drastically reduces your time spent in deep, restorative sleep. You might be unconscious for 8 hours, but your brain is prevented from performing its crucial nightly maintenance, leaving you waking up exhausted and desperate for another immediate chemical blockade. Instead of fighting your physiology, you can strategically align your habits with your natural cortisol rhythm. Cortisol, your body's built in waking hormone, naturally peaks shortly after you get out of bed. By delaying your intake until this natural peak begins to subside, you ride the wave of your own biology. You use the molecular blocker to sustain alertness only when your internal waking systems actually need the support. As our understanding of neurochemistry deepens, a broader cultural shift is emerging regarding how we view stimulants. We are moving away from the era of mindless, chronic consumption and toward a model of strategic, purposeful application. By respecting the intricate machinery of the brain, society is beginning to recognize that true, sustainable performance comes from working in harmony with our biology rather than constantly trying to override it. The truth about our favorite morning ritual is ultimately a story of chemical disguise. It does not give us wings, nor does it magically create energy out of thin air. By simply plugging the holes where tiredness tries to dock, it temporarily mutes the heavy reality of our own fatigue. Understanding this mechanism demystifies the magic, revealing a predictable biological transaction rather than a limitless source of power. This newfound clarity empowers your daily choices, transforming a mindless habit into a precise tool for well being. When you know how the system works, you can time your consumption to support your natural rhythms, avoid the painful crashes, and protect your restorative sleep. The science, once complex, now informs a balanced approach to vitality, allowing you to enjoy your morning cup while maintaining complete control over your health.